Hey trendsetters, it's your girl Heidi, and I'm here with the dynamic Michelle Mathison, the founder of See What Matters. And she is doing such great work. Her organization is a personal development organization. And before I screw, she's doing so many different things with this organization that before I screw this thing up, let me let her jump on and talk to you more about what See What Matters is and the phenomenal work that she's doing with the people in our community. Welcome, 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 Michelle.
Thank you, Heidi, and thank you for having me here. And so, See What Matters, like I said, is a personal development organization. And I started in 2012, and I was kind of somewhat of a new mom. My daughter was 5, and I was really struggling with time management. I was having pelvic pains for 3 months, not even knowing why, but I was really stressed. So, I devised a way to manage my time. And inside of that, I wrote a book called Have the Time of Your Life. So, I made a time management book. But as the years went on, I started discovering different areas of, I guess, interest of where I'd want to support people in like life skills. So I put a pause on it for a while because I couldn't focus on it the way I really wanted to raising my child. But now that she's 17, it's a lot more different, right? So now I can really focus on things the way that I really want to. And what I'm mainly focused on right now, there's two elements where there's like spiritual work, kind of healing work that I'm very passionate about that I wanted to talk about today, which is family constellations. I also do skin work. I actually suffered from really, really extreme hormonal acne as an adult. So if someone were to go to seewhatmatters.com, they'll see all this information about skin. But my healing work is kind of more one to one. It's more word of mouth. Like I do have a link for it, but it's not something that I broadcast. I am having an event in 2 weeks, and I do a lot of one-on-one work. But see what matters. The family constellation piece is very very sacred, and it's not to say that because it's sacred it can't be online. But how I'm approaching it is a bit more one-to-one, personal, and organic.
Break that down. What is family constellation? What are you doing
With
with yes.
So, family constellations is basically a therapeutic approach to dealing with life's issues by way of bringing people together to look at how your family dynamics are impacting your current life. So, how it started in a nutshell, there was a German philosopher named Bert Hellinger, and he put together a lot of modalities together. But one of the modalities that he was influenced by most was Zulu tribes of Africa and how they dealt with mental illness. And you frozen all okay. They did not deal with the person. So if you came in and said, I'm dealing with anxiety, they wouldn't just be working with you and talking about your life story, Heidi. They
Okay.
would, in essence, bring in your whole family and look at what might not be in place that's giving Heidi anxiety. So the way that family constellations work is the issue that you're bringing to the facilitator. We're not looking at it from the point of view of your issue. We're looking at it from the point of view of your family's issue.
So you speak to the whole family.
No. So this is what's really amazing to me about family constellations. Your whole family does not have to be involved, just you, right? So if you know how some people say, oh, my mom would never do something like this, or my son would never come to something like this, they don't have to come. Only you have to come, and they will still get the benefits of you doing the constellation. So, for example, I was never close to my dad's side of the family, not in a bad way, but I wasn't. And inside of doing this work, I have the closest relationship with of my all of my 4 other siblings. Like I'm
Mm.
the closest to them, and I'm the youngest. So it really opens up a capacity to belong in your family in a way that is usually not accessible. And when we talk about it, right, some people still, I'll explain it and they still don't get it.
Right.
A lot of it is experiential. It's like a hug. I could tell you about a hug, but you're only going to understand a hug when I hug you. So I always say if you hear this conversation and you feel a tug and it's like a knock, answer the knock. If it's not knocking, it's okay. Some people are going to live and die, never do constellations and be okay. But if it is calling to you, it is for cycle breakers. It's for the people that are looking to break the generational curses we all talk about because it's intergenerational healing.
Wow. So what you're doing is touching not only the individual, but the source, really the root, as you're saying, and it could be a generational
Oh
thing,
yeah. Like even
trauma.
4 or 5 generations. So like even my daughter, she actually did a constellation on her own, which I was so happy because you kind of really can't make anyone do a constellation. So there's been a family trauma I've been aware of, like for me, 4 generations. And when she did hers, I wasn't even in it because sometimes it's not necessarily ideal sometimes to even have your whole family in it. It could almost impact the constellation. So I wasn't even there with her. And
Mhm.
the same issue came up for 5 generations because she's, my descendant. The
Wow.
same issues. They didn't know her. I didn't, it was just like, you can't make this stuff up. So it's really powerful how far these things go back and how much it impacts us. Because if you think about it, right, just on a pretty practical level, if you were the product of a rape, God forbid, and you are now, how you feel about your parents is going to be tricky. And if it's not talked about, how you parent that child, it might be complicated. And how that child is raised is complicated. And it goes down many, many lines. And we all know we have these really deep secrets in our family. The ones that we kind of know, we don't want to know, we don't say. Those are the type of things that can create obsessive, compulsive behaviors, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. There's a lot of these family secrets and family, we call them hidden loyalties, which I'll talk about in a second, that can create a lot of dis-ease, and it didn't belong to you. So, my daughter could be dealing with something from 4 or 5 generations before that she's not even aware of. And you go to a therapist, and I'm not saying therapy is bad, but you go to a therapist, talk about certain issues, and it's not even yours to really deal with. It's like family constellations is healing something from the root. This is not, trying to get different fruit. It's taking the tree down and planting new seeds so that it bears, healthy fruit.
Well, from a therapist perspective, because that's my
Mhm.
specialty, and I'm listening to this very, very keenly,
Good.
because this is really interesting to me. I related to the trauma
Mhm.
from slavery, right?
Yes.
And
Yep.
how we understand now that trauma from slavery is intertwined into our DNA, right?
Perfect. I mean, so with you even saying that, so there's family constellations, and then there's also what we call systemic constellations. And sometimes people do a constellations on a system of issues. So one of the constellations that I've been very passionate about in my family has been colonization and its impact on my own family. And those are much deeper constellations, but yes, they absolutely have an impact later on in life. And this is the thing, the goal of constellations is not about blame. Like the constellation that's coming up March 22nd is on the victim perpetrator cycle. Let's say in a rape dynamic, this is not about the victim staying a victim, and it's not about the perpetrator being a perpetrator, because at the end of the day, that's your family, right? That if you cannot connect and you not connect, if you disconnect from that side or that story, that's your story, you're really disconnecting from yourself, right? And a lot of times it's like pick. And if you look in the world right now, you see victim perpetrator, who's right, who's wrong, left, right, red, blue. There's a constant warring with each other as opposed to um, just finding the proper order. And what's what we talk about in family constellations is the orders of love. And in the orders of love, what that means is the parents come first and then the children. They're the big ones, you're the little one. And why that is important is a lot of times as the children, they may be on the same level of the parent energetically, like a peer, which doesn't give them the space to actually be a child and doesn't give them a space then to mother. They may sometimes be in the position of being over the parent because they took care of them and now they're completely out of order. There's the goal of a constellation is putting you back in your proper place. So that's at the heart of it.
So these constellations is just like how you're saying, it's like an alignment.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes things get out of order or out of focus, like you said.
Well, yeah. So for example, in an actual constellation, so that it can like you can get a little visual with it. there's many ways to do a constellation. Let me just say that. You can do it online, you can do it in person, you can use stick figures, you can use footsteps. There's so many ways you can do constellation. But one of, say you do it in person, right? Say
Mhm.
you and I are there with a few other people and you have an issue. We call you the issue holder. Let's say you have issue with money, whatever it is, you can't get your money right. You would have someone in the group represent money. Someone would represent you. And someone invariably would probably represent your mother or somebody in your family. Now, and then so you're not even doing anything. You kind of say what it is a little bit, and then the people in the group will kind of act it out. Like how some people talk about psychodrama, right? The beauty of family constellations is what they call the knowing field, which to me is the magic and the mystery of family constellations. Is once the issue is brought up and people are drawn to represent, they can sometimes, they not sometimes, they can intuitively connect with the feeling of the issue. It's a very powerful experience that, like I said, for my daughter, we were able to see the same issue at two completely different times of life, with me not even telling her what it is, and the entire room connecting to it. That's really the magic of that work. And then there's, it begins to resolve. But I will say, family constellations is not the. It's amazing, but it's not the kind of thing.
Okay.
It resolves itself over time. So it's not like you do the constellation and you're like a motivational weekend and you feel on top of the world. It's something that is like a knot that is slowly unravels, and you'll see little changes, little changes, little changes. Because if you think about it, if you're pulling out a knot that's 400 years old, can't just change that quickly, right?
Right.
But it will change permanently. So I do want to say that it's not like I'm feeling down and I want to do this to feel good. You get what I'm saying? It's more you want to do it to get something resolved for good.
So it's like chipping away at something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really revealing what has been in the way. So I think it's the ultimate uncovering of blind spots. It's in a way that you kind of can't unsee. There's so many things that I learned about my family that, girl, whew, it's amazing that it's just amazing. Like that's all I can say. Anything is, you don't really want to talk about your own constellation too much because
Right, right. Because everybody's experience is different, right? So,
yes,
so you don't want to mislead anyone going into this thing, and I get that.
and can I add, your constellation to me is like fine wine or soda. Honestly, soda is the best until it's opened. And we look at it as a container. And I never forgot the first time I did a constellation, and everyone I said can do constellation slightly different. She's like, don't talk about it for the first 48 hours or ever. And I was actually a little upset because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to talk about it. But as I've gotten more mature in this, it's really true. I feel like you never even have to talk about it. It's not something to just, hey, this is what I saw. It to me is something that you see and you leave it. And you let it, like, you're planting a seed, just let it grow and let it do what it does. But when you start trying to talk about it and understand it, you kind of give it away.
Mm. You said something that stuck out to me, and I was wondering, do you do these in groups or do you do these individual, or is it both? Is it interconnected with one another?
It's both. It's
This
both.
thing on the 22nd, talk to me about that then.
Yes. So that one is a group. So that is going to be in person. It is going to be, in East Flatbush, and it's it's a group. So I say I have done one-on-ones with people. So even if you don't have a group, I've done more one-on-ones actually than I've done a group. So it's actually interesting. And I actually started getting training in it during COVID. I was doing them in person to just learn for myself. But then COVID happened and I got all my training online. So I actually got very comfortable doing it online. But I do think there's something to doing it in person too. So it could be one person, group of people, doesn't matter. As long as you have the heart to do it, you'll get value.
So tell us a little bit about where and what to expect on March 22nd. And
Mm. Well, I mean, like I said, it's 3510 Church Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11203. Um,
that's Sesame Flyers. Okay.
yes, yeah, that building. And you don't, I'll say this, but you can expect. You can expect that whoever is there is supposed to be there,
Mhm.
that what you are supposed to get, you're gonna get. That's what I would say, because I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be great, but I can't say. So we'll come. I mean, if you're talking about some like kind of standard things that happen in constellation introductions, which are not long, this is not, like I said, it's not therapy, so it's not a lot of talking from the issue holder, but it might be, your name and where's your family from, like just acknowledging the land that you come from. And then the issue holder will usually say enough so that the facilitator understands what's going on. But as I said, it's usually not long. It might be 5 minutes, just to get a sense. And then we usually do some grounding just to kind of get grounded in the space. And then the issue holder will start to ask people to represent different areas based on the constellator uh, intuitive sense. So, like, let's say someone wants to do money. I say, okay, I usually put the person, I have them set themselves up. I say, find someone to represent yourself. And then that's when the intuition just starts coming. So I can't say what it's going to be, but I have to just be present and see what it's going to be, and then we start setting it up.
Um, how reach out to our audience
Okay.
and let them know, invite them, encourage them. What are your words? Who should be a part of this constellation, should I say? Who talk to our audience, because there may be some that still,
Well, that's what I would
uncertain
say.
about.
I know family constellations is a calling. It's not something, if you come, you need to be there. So if you're listening to this right now, you already, you've known. I am just reminding you of something that you've already known. If it's not calling to you, this may not be the right time, or it may not be the right thing for you. So you don't want to force yourself, and you couldn't force yourself. Whoever shows up in that space is a very sacred group of people that are meant to be in that space at that time. But if it does call to you, come however you are, right? You don't have to know what it is. When I came, I wasn't sure either. Most people that come to a constellation are still not clear. They can watch a video like this, read something, and it's still like, I have no idea what this is. But something in me said, come, and I came. So if that's you, that's who we want. But for me, what I would just say, I'm looking for the cycle breakers. If you've been saying, I've been stuck in this cycle, I keep attracting the wrong man, I can't find a husband no matter what I do, I can't get along with my mother, I have daddy issues, me and my siblings don't get along. And it really, let me tell you, Heidi, it's really for the people, it's for anyone. But I zero in on, if you've done therapy, prayer, fasting, you done read all the books, you went to the courses, you done led courses, and you still have certain issues that no matter what don't move, it's probably because it's not yours. It didn't start with you, but it can end with you. So that's who this is really for.
As you said, the cycle breakers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so people who are really ready to put an end to certain traumas and things that have been reoccurring. And as you said, it could have been, generational,
Yes.
repeating and repeating and repeating, and enough is enough. So,
Yes. It's
you
enough.
know,
So, the thing is, breaking a cycle, look, it's hard to break cycles that happen in this current life. Some people, can't give up sugar, right? So much less, right?
right.
Much less emotional, traumatic pain. So I think what's just coming to mind, and I just want to share, I feel like it's like the field that is family constellations is, you know, I've done tons of constellations, and I have been doing constellations for the last 5 years now. And I think there was a point where I felt like, okay, I want to do this so that this will never be a problem. And I'm sure you as a therapist know, like, people should not come to a therapist to completely get rid of grief. You can't really get rid of it. You incorporate it. Someone dies, it's not,
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't remember anymore, right? So this is
Mhm.
not to say that you get the clarity and there's no impact still. You know what I'm saying? There's still an impact. It's just the weight of the impact and how you interact with it will be very, very different. So I do want to give realistic expectations too, that this is, you might, there's a saying, you might be planting the seeds of a tree whose shade you may never, experience. This is not just for you. This is for you to be that great ancestor, right? Because we have like these, we call them bad ancestors. Some people say, oh, that ancestor messed me up. Well, this is your opportunity to be a great ancestor. And the descendants that come from you will really appreciate it. And not just your family, the people around you, but most of our problems start with our family. And you know that. You know what I'm saying? They start from some typical issue with the mom, with the dad, with the sibling, and it goes on to other things.
Um, what would you like to tell our audience, about coming to that place and, just understanding that it's okay to feel and tapping into their intuition about even as far as this constellation is concerned.
You really gotta. I want to say it's good to just trust yourself. Although sometimes, depending on things that's happened to you, you might be like dysregulated, and it's hard to trust yourself. But I would say that you kind of can't do a constellation wrong. Let's just say that, right? Like you. It can sound cliche, but you really just come as you are. This is not a thing where you need any kind of previous knowledge. And the other thing I should say is you can come and observe. You don't have to participate at all. So the thing is, let's say you just feel drawn to come. You may
Mhm.
have an issue, but you kind of don't want to be on display. Like, like, no, my family secrets, I'm not telling anyone, right? I don't care what you say, safe space, I'm not doing it. You have the opportunity to be a representative, or you can just be there. And you can get a lot of value just showing up. I just wanted to say that some experience that I've had just literally being in the room have been so effective. So I would say, if you're really not even ready to jump in, and sometimes people that's their first time, they're not really ready to do it the first time because they're like, what if I don't feel something? What if I do it wrong? What if so you can just come. So you have nothing to lose if it calls to you.
So again, when and where is it going to be and what time?
So it's Saturday, March 22nd from 11 to 2 and 3510 Church Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11203.
Well, this has been so meaty. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so many different levels, as you said,
Yeah,
and it definitely is intriguing,
it
you know,
is.
to say the least. It's something that we need. You
Well,
know.
it is, Heidi, but the thing about it is that intrigues me, and I know you're asking the questions, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. What really drew me into becoming a facilitator, most more than anything, is with Bert discovering the person that put it all together. With Bert discovering this amazing work from the Zulu tribes of Africa. Whenever I do a constellation, typically, like I did today, there was like 22 people on. I'm usually the only Black person there, right?
Yeah.
And this is global though. I just wanted to say, I told you there's people from Russia, from Israel, Singapore, like really all over the world is doing this. And I really want to bring it to our community. I don't believe I've ever told someone about family constellations. Like, oh yeah, I know about that. So it's like, it's always more like family constellations, and they'll think, maybe I have, but no, and I don't know. Like, I don't know why we don't know about this at all. It doesn't make, like, it really actually doesn't make sense to me. Like, why is it so, um, I mean, everyone needs generational healing, but I think we're a group that really could benefit. Anyone can, but given a lot of our collective trauma, this group to me seems so uh, ripe for it. But maybe we're not ready to let it go. I don't know. What do you think? I'm just curious.
I think it's because we tap into the church a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of where our spiritual awareness comes from is grounded into that, you know,
Yeah.
but expanding outside of that, a lot of our community isn't willing to venture into. And then we just have a lot of hesitancy,
Yeah.
right? Because we don't know enough about spiritual journeys.
Yeah.
You understand? So
Mm.
you hear things that are evil, and then you hear things that are good. There's no middle, or you understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
So just to be cautious and not to step into the unknowing. I think that this
Mhm.
is why people, in our community, stay focused on one thing versus the next and not really are interested in tapping too far into things that they don't know much about. That's so something like this is why I said I'm intrigued because, coming from a psychological background and coming from a spiritual background, I'm like, okay, so where's this? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to navigate myself. Like, okay, where is this? You hear about certain things like chakras. You hear about certain things.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you don't know what really things are connected to.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I grew up in the Pentecostal church. My dad was a pastor for the first 9 years of my life and then a minister. And I mean, we were saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, water baptized, the whole thing. So that was the first 24 years of my life hard. Like it was long skirts, no makeup, no earrings, no nail polish, like nothing. So I spent a lot of my life in the church, and it obviously informed my views on life and everything of that nature. Um, but I was always open. I have to say, even when I was in church, I was always an inquisitive person. And I think my belief in God is just so vast. Um,
Okay. Mhm.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Yeah. Why'd you come back? Oh, you don't feel. I'm sorry. My daughter just came home from school. A little early, but yeah, my views were already so vast, and I was so inquisitive, and if it means anything to people listening, I do believe in God, and I feel like I have a healthy relationship with God. I feel like at one point I didn't. It was so I felt afraid of God. I felt like I didn't want to get him mad. I didn't want to die.
Wrath. You didn't want to feel the wrath. I get it.
Yeah, but now I feel like I have a genuine walk, where it's not a thing I go to. It's really who I am as a person. And for me, doing constellation work is just an extension in many ways to me because I say like I have like a little pamphlet that I share. I can maybe give you a link that you put in the description box.
Yes.
Um, I share in it that, this work has helped me so much, plus my belief in God, and a power much greater than myself. Because I think, I don't know, I guess without going to church, but like the ultimate healer of all healers is like, to me, is God. Now, whether someone believes in it in a Christian way or a Muslim way or whatever way, I think for me, it doesn't make a difference. But I know I know that this work works. This is what I do know. Like I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this can provide healing, but I don't think I think sometimes maybe people think these modalities are a replacement for God, and it's not. I don't. I think if you believe in God, it's a great compliment to me.
So, in answering that, in answering the question that you had, that's what I'm getting from this. Why didn't our community, or why doesn't our community embrace this?
Mhm.
I think that really is something that struck out to me, even while you were talking. Like,
Yeah.
we don't really, and a lot of us are still trying to figure out just what you said, their relationship, their individual walk with God,
Yeah.
So, and hearing people throw out so many things now about spirituality
Yeah.
and not really understanding what that takes, what's involved with that. Well,
Mhm.
you know, so, and trust. It's just like you said, the reason why, people come and seek,
Mhm.
constellations have to do with a lot of trust issues, have to do with a lot of things that, are a result. Maybe it's something that happened from their generation, maybe as a people, collective, as a collective. Maybe it has something to do with our people as a collective, why people aren't as embracive to,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think it is a collective for sure. And that's why, I am on a mission to bring this to our community. It will support anyone. So it's not,
that's why you're here. That's
yeah,
why
so
you're
it's not
here.
exclusive to our community, but I do remember when I was, there was points when I was sharing it with people. And just like how you may have experienced, some people may want to work with a Black therapist.
Right.
Some people were saying, is there a Black constellator? And I was like, I don't know any, and they're like, well, when you become one, I'll do it, kind of things like that. So, um, I do acknowledge that that can be a factor for people. And I don't want that to be a barrier because every constellator brings something unique to it. And I'll say this too, I'm not the right constellator for everybody. And I tell them that, like, I do a consultation with people and it has to be right for both of us. And
Right.
there might be an issue that is just not the right issue for me. And at the event, I have two other people that'll be with me, I think, and we're going to see what feels right because it's it really is sensitive, and every constellation, just like maybe I don't know if it's like in therapy, but you're always learning and growing. So we don't come in as like gurus that have healed every element of our life, right? Like we are
Mhm, mhm.
we're helping people guide themselves back to their own memories and helping them release what doesn't need to be there.
You said something that is very good to understand that there are other people that are going to be there with you, other instructors that are going to be there with you, because you're right, therapy, what you're doing, it's like dating, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work, you got to seek
Mm-hmm.
help elsewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important to know that it's not something that you just locked in, because,
Yeah. Yeah,
right,
especially with family so also for the audience, like if you do a constellation with someone, you don't have to keep doing with that person, or you can. Like I've had people I've worked with that have come back to me several times. And then sometimes it's just one time, and that's okay. And then sometimes you may just want to do one constellation your whole life. You don't have to keep doing them. You
right,
can do one and some, I'll never forget there was a teacher that I worked with, and she was like, you can do one constellation and it evolves over a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years. Like it's not like you do constellations weekly. That's really not. That's why I really believe, honestly, that in an ideal world, to me, if someone's dealing with an issue, they do a constellation first and then get therapy. And I only say that to say because then they would have the language in a much different way, in my opinion, because they may be talking about something that, oh man, it's just. Let me explain one part of a big part of constellations is we call it including the excluded.
mm,
So what Bert found after 20 years and doing so many of so many of these sessions and this kind of work was usually when there is an excluded energy in the family, it will find a way to kind of come back in the family and it can cause disturbances. So for example, let's say someone victimized someone, like there was someone that performed incest on a family member and they're like shunned, that it causes an imbalance in the family. And
mhm.
someone will sometimes unconsciously take it on to bring that family member back in. And like I said, these things are so best illustrated in a session because there's so many times where, because we don't know who's coming and we don't know their issues, we'll ask these questions and then they'll say, you know what? Um, my mom had a miscarriage and I don't know really what happened. And it's like, I know she was sad, or an abortion or whatever it is. That comes up a lot, or still. And when we bring that energy in, it like balances out the whole system. So let's say you're there, you might be tense. It's not just a miscarriage though, it's your sibling. It's so things just shift, right? It could be your brother that you didn't even know it was a brother. That energy comes back and you would literally see the person just relax. And we often just say, we're gonna leave it with them. Like you're carrying something you need to carry. You can acknowledge your brother and live your life. right? So it's those, and we call those things soul movements, so that you can just get in your proper place as opposed to turning back, and looking backwards. It's like driving like this. You're gonna crash. You keep, if unless someone just says, so in a constellation, it's kind of like this.
Mm.
That's really what that's really what happens. You just get to look forward and focus on the future, and whatever is available is going to be available for you.
Well, I hope that our audience does come out. And like
Hopefully.
you said, that if you're touched to come out, she's going to be at Sesame Flyers at 3510 Church Avenue
Mhm.
on March 22nd. What's the time again? I'm sorry.
11 a.m.
11.
a.m.
So 11 a.m., you guys, Michelle, thank you so much. How did you, before we even go,
Mhm.
how did you get started with all of this?
You know, like a lot of people, I kept hearing about it little by little, right? So it was kind of like a knock, like, and I was like, is that a knock at the door? And I kept hearing about it, and then I don't know, someone invited me. I kind of don't even remember. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but someone that I was probably connected with somehow invited me, and I just said, let me just go. I was probably dealing with, my life's issues, and I said, and it changed my life. I started getting clarity about things that I had spent like a decade and thousands of dollars trying to understand things about my life in personal development courses and all kinds of things, and nothing worked.
Mm,
Nothing was giving me the relief that I was looking for. And and I mean I tried a lot of things. And when I did the constellations and I started to, man, it's so powerful. But when I started seeing like what was really the hidden dynamics at force, it just changed my life. And um I had unanswered questions that were finally answered,
mm,
that I could not get answers for over a decade. And I it was a call, and then as I said, I got more into the work. I couldn't help but notice, I'm like, why am I always the only black girl here? Why is there only two of us? And what really shifted things the most for me was there was an International Family Constellators Day, and there were 100 constellators on a flyer, and nobody was black. And
mm.
because of the history of it, right? Like, it's not that they have to be black, but because it is so influenced by African influences, it's like, what? Like, for me, it was more just like, this doesn't even make sense. So it really pushed me in a different way to become a facilitator, because I just thought this is odd. So I spent 2 years learning how to do it. A big part of learning how to do it is just learning about yourself, your family. So it's not exactly 2 years of training every day. It's a journey within, really. And you just you you answer a call. That's how I look at it. So it's not something I would have ever thought that I would do. In my professional life, I do fundraising and development, and I try to bring money to organization, and I have my business See What Matters with skin and like time management. So I I was always into healing kind of work for my church, but this is just not what I thought in any way I'd be on an interview talking about. But that's what got me into it, was just my own issues. I wanted to get better, and seeing that it worked and wanting to make sure that it was available for other people.
Sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's what the call is.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who have a call is life experiences,
Yeah.
right? That bring them there. That's how things line up divinely. You know.
Yeah, that's my story. So yeah, it was the right thing for me. And now, like I said, bringing it to our community,
Mhm.
we'll see what happens. What I love about this is like, it's just real. There's no sell. And that's what I also love about it. No one's ever going to say, come to Constellation. And I think also that could be part of it too. This is not a pushy thing because we also know either this costs you or it doesn't. This is like trying to have people become ministers. Either you want to be a minister or you don't. You kind of can't push. It's just a call, right? So anyone that comes, I think the best thing that constellators can do is have these interviews, share, tell people, be living embodiment for it, listen for it. But things are going to evolve naturally of its own time. Because me, I actually have a very assertive personality, like not shy, ready to talk. And this is not, this is more like soft, and, you know, take your
Oh.
time and things of that nature. With money, it's different. I gotta be, do you want to give? Do you? So this is a lot gentler, and it's nice. It's nice to be in this kind of energy sometimes.
I thank you now. I thank you. Michelle, and one of the reasons why I brought you on is because you did talk to me about this before, and
Mhm.
I was interested in getting this type of healing process. We all have to heal. We all need a place to start,
Yeah.
right? And when you originally presented this to me, way
Mhm.
back when we first met, that you were doing this in the
Yeah.
community, I had said, I want to find out more about what this thing is. And, now with you tying it into its roots,
Yes.
um, makes me more glad that you came on and you spoke about it.
Thank
And
you.
because I do see, how it can be interrelated. We are spiritual beings as Black people. And I think that by suffocating our spirituality has caused a lot of ongoing trauma, right?
Mhm.
Me personally, I've seen how things have been stripped away, right? Our creativity in schools, or our releases, the way that we have dealt with things,
Mhm.
even tribally, we don't have those type of releases anymore,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Used to
Mhm.
dance, it was drums, it was so many different, it was arts, it was motion, it was so many different ways, and it was all spiritually grounded, right?
I love the word release.
And we don't have those anymore. So
Mhm.
a lot of things stay within us and trapped that toxifies our beings.
That's a really good point. I like happy that you said that because, as I said, because people can do constellations in so many formats. Like I've done a dancing constellation, right?
Mhm.
And it was because the thing is, you can do a constellation to just honor the ancestors, right? It may not be um, a lot of we talk a lot about breaking like generational curses, but there's also an element of honoring the generational goodness, right? There's a lot. So I love to dance, and so it was perfect for me. But it was just a powerful movement. It was like I can't even explain it now, but it was a way to honor your whole lineage through song and dance. It was just powerful. So you're right. So I'm like, now you're saying that, I'm like, maybe I should incorporate a little bit of that on, in 2 weeks. But you're right. It's really powerful. But you said it's a release.
It
It
is.
really.
It is. I've been doing therapy for over 30 years, and
Mhm.
Um, I I know our people. I'm in the trenches. I'm all over the place, and I see, beyond what comes out of a book. I really get to understand things, and I know how systems have worked against us
Yeah.
in the interim, right, of decades. And I it is a release. I see things like our young people having to hold in feelings after losing friends to gun violence,
Hmm. Hmm.
and have to just act like, continue almost robotically
Yeah.
back into academics, back into their regular way of normalcy. I see the desensitization of people getting gunned down in the streets.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because, you know, with me doing the victim perpetrator dynamic, for the first one, I'm gonna do other ones like the father's mother, healing the mother wound, the father wound, sibling wounds. But you know, whatever's gonna come up is gonna come up Saturday. Sorry, it's my doggy. It's gonna come up. But you know, it was talking about us as a cultural people, as a culture. I think one of the things that I think sometimes we don't talk about, and some do, I will say, some talk about, but is our own victim perpetrator within our own community, right? And when we go back, as you mentioned in the beginning of the interview, slavery, right? There is an element of us selling our own selves out that I don't really think we've atoned with. Like, and I really, really, really think we have to reckon with that truth. And I know, there's elements of initially not knowing how bad it was, but at a point we did. And maybe
Right.
we're too far down the line, but we really have to find peace that some things we did to ourselves. And this is not about blaming ourselves, but when I say sometimes we talk about race relations and we have to help ourselves. Like, I mean, because if you think about it, are you looking for another group to free us? No, we have to free ourselves. You get it, right, Heidi?
Oh my gosh, you preaching to the choir right now. This is why I started the Trendsetters Talk podcast in the first place, is to release our minds from certain mindsets that have really limited us and having
Mhm.
the expectation of someone coming to save us. It's ridiculous how many times, I've gotten into conversations with people, well, pointing fingers. You understand what I'm saying? We have to take our own sense of accountability and responsibility to why things have played out systematically the way that they have, right?
Yep.
I mean, yes, there are oppressors and there are things that obviously have hindered, how far we've gotten, but we need to push through, right?
Of course. Yes.
We really need, and it's like you said, it's time for us to rest, right? We got to get in realignment with our future and with things to come. And now or never, this is more important for us to lead the way in our continuing journey,
Hmm.
in the success of our people. You know, we really have to focus on, you know, the healing journey,
Yeah,
or we're going to continue like you're saying that this is just, it's inevitable.
it
And
is.
we can't remove what our ancestors have gone through. We can't remove the things, what took place in our journey. We can't remove that,
Hmm.
or else we're going to be deemed to repeat it, right?
Yeah, so we integrated, we give it its proper place,
Give it.
and that's what we talk about in family constellations.
Yes.
We give it its proper place. It's not, having it be at the pinnacle. It's just, it's
Right.
what
Right.
happened.
Right.
And, you know, something that can be said about family constellations is sometimes what really makes a difference is some pain just needs to be witnessed, right? And it's not like a reenactment, right? But it's a real witnessing. Like when you say release, where the community is like, this happened.
Absolutely.
This is real. And
Absolutely.
and it just gets to be what it is. There's no adding, there's no
Right.
subtracting. This is what happened.
Yes.
And then you can move on, but you don't have to say, well, you were wrong and you did this and you did that. Because this is what I will say too. Whether say us, let me not bring some other race. Let's say you had people that in our race were slave owners, because they
Mhm.
were, right? Okay,
Right.
let's just bring it
Right.
to
Right.
us.
Right. Right.
Wrong and oppressive. And there really is an element of what was happening at a certain time,
Yes.
because there's things that people will look back. I always say to people, when, I mean, you were around too, when back in the day when we heard that Leah was married to R. Kelly in the beginning, it was crazy, but we didn't really care, right? Like we knew, but it was kind of like, well, I don't know why he's married a 15-year-old. But in this time, it's like, no way, right? But at the time when it first happened, it was a different time. It still was wrong, but the way we viewed it at the time was different. And what I'm saying is there's certain things that's happened in our past that was a function of the past. So
Absolutely.
and that's
Absolutely.
and we just leave it there and it's wrong and it's not right and we need atonement. But it really is like some people could look at America years from now and say, no, if this country exploited other countries, you guys, shame on you. Why would you wear Nike sneakers? Why would you allow it? And it's not right. But sometimes we didn't know, and even people could know, we didn't view it the same way. You get what I'm saying?
I
So,
absolutely understand that,
so
right?
I'm very mindful of that we will demonize certain things from different time periods that like some before they used to kill people by guillotine, right? So we're not doing that anymore, right?
Absolutely, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I just think we get to put it in context.
So again, come out to victim perpetrator with a
So it's breaking the victim perpetrator cycle, right? So it's well
breaking
healing the victim perpetrator cycle.
healing the victim perpetrator cycle. March 22nd at 11 o'clock a.m.
Yeah.
at 3510 Church Avenue. I'm going to put all the information. And thank you again. Thank you
Thank
again, Michelle
you.
Mathison. Michelle Mathison, you guys. Michelle
Hey.
Mathison. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your time and this important information. I hope that our viewers come out and support you. We definitely, this is the time for it, right?
Yes, this is the time. I mean, and you'll know if it's your time. This may not be your time. It might be someone else's time. So, if not
I'm
you,
just talking in general. I'm just talking in general. This is a time where, our communities, we have to heal from certain things. Our
yes.
community have to tap into the reality, like you said. Sometimes you got to put things right there out there in your face for you to address it, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. Sometimes some things don't need to be said. This is what it is. This is it. Let's deal with the it's. Let's deal with all the it's that we got going on and we're trying to cover up and we're trying to hide and avoid and stifle down inside of us. Let's deal with the it's. I'm all for it.
Yana always said, call a thing a thing. You know what she always say? Call a thing a
Let's
thing.
call a thing, right?
Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you take care. And anytime you need us, we're here. Trendsetters is here completely supporting you. Hopefully, one of these events will come out and we'll see. Look, my curiosity is totally piqued, right? So
Good to know. Good to
You
know.
know, maybe I'll sit in the back. I'm good at that, Let me sit in the back and check out what's going on, and
Yeah.
hopefully we can partake in one of your events. But
Wow.
again, um, it sounds like a dynamic event. It
Thank,
sounds like a great space to be in, and I thank you for curating a space for our community. And
thank you for having me.
yes, yes, yes. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. You be blessed. You be
Okay.
blessed. Trendsetters. Peace. Love you guys.
Bye.